Sí. So, good morning, everybody. How are you? Fine. A big welcome to our symposium, which is held in the municipality of Benalmádena. We would like to give a very warm welcome this morning to all project participants, participants from the school in Poland, the Binka, students and teachers, participants from the school in Italy, from Cava de Tirreni, teachers and students, participants from the school in Germany, teachers and students, and of course to students and teachers of IES Cerro del Viento from Arroyo de la Miel. It is a great pleasure today because we have with us a very interesting team surrounding the topic of climate change, as we all know. Good morning to all authorities with us today, to our mayor of our town, Arroyo de la Miel, Juan Antonio Lara, to the representatives of our town hall, Belén Muñoz, and from Malaga University, accompanying us today, we have Pedro Guerrero, and also Manuel Vargas from CSIC, and Jorge Román from Proyecto Alborán Azul. The purpose of our meeting today is, of course, how climate change will affect our seas and coasts, and what are we doing to solve these problems? What are our research projects concerning this topic? And of course, the results, the impact, and the conclusions that we will all draw to be able to affront the new period with some solutions. So it is a great pleasure to give a warm welcome to our mayor right now. Juan Antonio Lara, please. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to me to be here again. Yesterday in the town hall here in Benalmádena, and today here in your house, Cultura house here in Arroyo de la Miel. Hello, neighbors and friends from all around Europe. Good morning, and a very warm welcome to our Respect Climate Change Symposium, and a special recognition is due for all participations, who are experts and are to discuss trends, present papers, and make recommendations about the fields of expertise. It's a true honor, being the mayor of Benalmádena, to have such a successful participants and students in our town. Welcome to our city. I hope you enjoy this paradise. I would like to express my biggest gratitude for accepting our invitation to deliver today's keynote speech and participate in this symposium. I'm standing here as a lucky witness to our dear students' academic journey. Our town council is very proud of everything you have accomplished and your small but not minor contributions to society and science. With your teachers' guidance and parents' support, you have reached remarkable heights. I'd like to take this time to extend my gratitude to all experts taking care and investigating into climate change, and main worry and subject for the citizens of all the world. From now on, you will face more changes, but I'm confident that you are adequately equipped to face and tribulation that comes your way. Remember that with conviction and self-belief, no mountain is too high to climb. I'm genuinely excited to see the astonishing feats that your futures hold. Thanks so much. Thanks to be here and continue this symposium. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. So I'll tell you a little bit about how the morning is going to develop. And the timetable for today will be, we are starting off with this welcome opening. Tendremos, como estamos diciendo, el trabajo de nuestros estudiantes. Para comenzar, we will have the work of our students to begin with, their research papers and their expertise team from 10:30 to 12 approximately. We will begin with the presentations of Italy, the Italian school, Poland, Germany, and Spain. After that, we will have a short coffee break where our students from IES Cerro del Viento may go outside and have breakfast on the stairs, please. And the students involved in the project and, of course, our guests will remain in the patio. After that, we will come back and we will have the speeches of our experts. And it is my job to remind students of the way that we will proceed. So all expertise teams have 15 minutes, please. Do not extend over that time for their research papers. And after that, participants are invited to submit their questions to the table. We will have, from the Polish team, work on the Baltic Sea. From the Italian team, we will work on the Tyrrhenian Sea. The German team will work on the North Sea. And our Spanish team will work on Mar de Alborán. So a very big welcome to you all. I hope you enjoy. And we will count today with the presence also of the member of our English department from IES Cerro del Viento, Miguel Castaño, who will be giving you the word, students, to come up, and also micros if you would like to elevate questions to the table. So we may begin.
Thank you very much, and let's give a warm welcome to the Polish expertise team, and we will learn about the Baltic Sea and the consequences of the climate change in this area. Thank you.
Imagine you're a codfish. You're swimming in the Baltic Sea. What do you see? A beautiful, not polluted, Or do you see a place without oxygen, really polluted because of all the things that human did? We'll give you an answer to that question now.
Okay, so the climate in Poland is warm and transitional. There are high variabilities of weather conditions, usually temperatures between 10 to 30 degrees. How and why is the climate changing? Climate is mainly changing due to the global warming and greenhouse gases, which is caused by large CO2 emission.
What is the impact of the climate change on the environment? The temperatures are expected to be higher, as well as more frequent appearance of dry periods, rise in the sea and ocean levels due to melting of the ice cover, and migrations of plant and animal species, and disappearance of endemic species.
Okay, so now some information about the Baltic Sea. So the area is 377 square kilometers. It's bordered by 9 countries: Denmark, Sweden, Poland, Finland, Russia, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Germany. The maximum depth is 459 meters, and the average depth is about 50 meters. It's a very shallow sea. It's the youngest geological formation among the saltwater reservoirs, and the water temperature is relatively low, 80.5 degrees during the summer, and in winter, temperature goes below zero, and on average, it's 11 degrees. Baltic Sea is very salty sea. Average 7 per million. Due to the fact that the sea is very low in the Danish Straits, water change in the reserve occur every 25 years, while in the Mediterranean every 5 years. Okay, and in the picture you can see it's the saltiness of Baltic Sea, and it's very low, but when it mixes with North Sea, it's getting higher. Here you have an example of a Polish beach, and there is white sand, and the view is quite nice. And here you have popular Polish water animals, and they are seals. They are common in Poland, and they are the most known ones.
About the animals. For example, we have bivalves, like mussels, cockles, sandworms, and Baltic hornworts. We have crustaceans, like barnacles, shrimps, gudgeons, worms. We have snails, like water mites, polychaetes, for example, nereids. And we also have oligates and seals.
Okay, so we did some research, and here are the results of this. 8 million turtles come to the Baltic Sea every year. The temperature may rise for about 0.08 degree per decade. The extinction of ecosystem and fish migrations, and increased blooms of poisonous cyanobacteria and plankton. In Poland, 2 or 3 years ago, cyanobacteria called Sinica was a big problem. It was that dangerous that we couldn't get into water because it would be super dangerous for us. And 1-2 years ago in a river, Odra, we also had a problem like that, like cyanobacteria, and all the fishes in the river died.
So about the pollution. Imagine you're the codfish again. And you're swimming in one of the most polluted seas in the world, because that's what the Baltic is. We have municipal and industrial waste inputs. We have atmospheric inputs. One of the main reasons for the pollution is water transport, for example, cruises or the industrial transport. Around 70% of the trash in the Baltic is plastic. We have rising temperature, which leads to occurrence of dry periods, as well as to melting the ice cover, but it occurs in every sea and ocean. And we have the migration of species, disappearance of endemic animals, and appearance of invasive species.
Okay, so you have a graph of all the trash that is from each border country. And the gray line is plastic, which, as you can see, is the biggest line. As we said previously, it's about 70% of all trashes. Comparing to, for example, metal, which is the orange one, it's a lot.
Imagine you're the codfish again. you're in danger of extinction due to overfishing. Now, you're probably at a plate in a restaurant, served with fries and some vegetables, like all of your friends. The temperature of the Baltic Sea is expected to go up, as will rise in the sea and ocean levels as a result of melting the ice cover. And again, the migration of plant and animal species, disappearance of endemic ones, and appearance of invasive ones.
Okay, so the sea level is rising, which further results of the occurrence of cyanobacteria, as I previously mentioned. Increase in temperature of the surface layer of water, and intense strong winds, dry periods, long periods without rain, interrupted by violent downpours.
We conducted a research. We got 2 samples from a small city of Międzyzdroje in Poland, and this is the result. So the first one was taken near the Międzyzdroje pier, and as you can see, the pier is very beautiful, but what about the water? pH was barely in the correct scale, and another test showed that it was fine, and no phosphates and nitrates were detected there.
So here are the second results, and some of you might question why there are two samples. We wanted our results to be reliable, and that's why we took 2 samples. And the second one is from a entrance on the Międzyzdroje beach. And as you can see, the results are very similar, so our results are reliable.
Our innovative ideas. So the construction of wastewater treatment, installation of industrial filters to reduce dust and gas emissions, for example the CO2, wider use of renewable energy sources, construction of hydropower and wind power plants, changing industrial technologies to be more economical ones, resulting in a reduction in energy and water consumption, wastewater and general waste, use in the management of waste and secondary raw materials, construction of ecological garbage dumps and reclamation of the old ones, reducing the use of fertilizers in agriculture, and introducing greener means of transport and usage of the public one.
Okay, now to summarize everything. The Baltic Sea is one of the most polluted seas in the world due to the water transport, cruises, and industrial transport. Sea level and the sea temperature are both rising, and the appearance of species migration, disappearance of endemic animals, and appearance of invasive species, and over 70% of trashes is plastic.
Last but not least, references. Reducing the pollution, waste management, sustainable fishing, again the codfish, renewable energy, public awareness, and international cooperation.
So yeah, that's the index. There are all the articles that we got our information from, and thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for learning about the Baltic Sea and the problem of climate change there. Now we have 10 minutes, just in case you have any questions for the team. I asked them not to leave, but if our students want to ask, to know anything about the topic, it's your turn. I invite you to inquire any further information you may know. If not, let's go on with the next team. It will be the German team, and they will talk about the North Sea. Let's give them a warm welcome. Yes. Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, next team is the team from Germany.
So 30%, that's the percentage of the certain death of the ecosystem in the North Sea. I think that's a pretty scary number. That shows one more time that we have to do something against the climate change, and everybody has to do something. You can start with small steps, for example, like riding your bike. Don't drive unnecessary short distances by car and things like that. So we're the team from Germany, and the only sea which is next to Germany is the North Sea. So at first we introduce you into the topic, we introduce you into the North Sea. After that we watch the climate change and the causes. Then we watch the impact. Then we're talking about the chances and perspectives. And at the end we will talk about the summary. So the North Sea isn't just a body of water, but also a vital ecosystem and a significant economic hub for the surrounding regions. So in what sense is it important for ecosystem? So of course it's a habitat for many species, and it's also very important for the economy because, for example, the regions which are next to the sea, they use it for fishing or tourism and stuff like that. So climate change causes, like you can read, climate change is a significant variation of average weather conditions becoming, for example, warmer, wetter or drier. And that's over several decades or longer. So because of pollution from human activities, the Earth's weather patterns change rapidly. So for example, like flying in the vacation, like I said in the beginning, driving unnecessarily distances by car, and these pollution traps heat in the atmosphere, and because of that, the Earth gets warmer and warmer. These things are also the cause for extreme weather events. That leads, for example, to the rise of the sea levels or the melt of ice. So we really have to fight against the climate change. We have to reduce our pollution and use renewable sources. But like I said, also small steps are helping. The main causes for the climate change are, for example, burning fossil fuels. That means the combustion of coal, oil, gas for energy generation and transport is the largest source of greenhouse emissions, particularly carbon dioxide. Another main reason is deforestation. So trees absorb and store carbon dioxide. If forests are cleared or even disturbed, they release carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Forest loss and damage is the cause of around 10% of global warming. So there's simply no other way we can fight the climate crisis if we don't stop deforestation. Also, the waste management is a big point. For example, the waste disposal and treatment, especially of organic waste, result in the release of methane into the atmosphere. So my partner Alexandra will now tell you more facts.
Right, so at first we have the shallow waters as one of the components. It's a fact that the North Sea is one of the most shallow seas, especially compared to others. And normally that wouldn't be a problem, but in our case it is because it's sensitive to changes. For one, to changes in temperature, it can get hotter way faster than other big seas. Another problem is also that the sea level can rise way faster, and that can endanger the people living at the coast especially. Then we have the coastlines and the coastal areas. So the coastal areas are normally really densely populated with a lot of people. And if the sea levels actually rise and storm surges increase, which is also a side effect that can happen from climate change, that can impact a lot of livelihoods and even endanger the people that are living there, working there, and just trying to get on with their lives. So, ecological sensitivity. As Karl has already mentioned, there is a really big biodiversity in the North Sea. It's a marine habitat for different species and just different types of nature. And all of those ecosystems are threatened if the sea is going to change because of climate change. Right, and economic significance, of course, there are economical benefits from the North Sea. For example, it's a vital source for tourism and also for fishing. And if the sea is gonna keep on changing and the conditions keep getting worse, then it's gonna bring huge economic losses, which are gonna be really hard to cover. And so all of those facts, and of course a lot more, are the reason why it's important to adapt measures and to protect the North Sea. Right. Here we have a graph from 1970 till 2020, and it's the annual average sea temperature. And as you can see, it has progressively gotten warmer from 1970 to, well, approximately now. You can see the blue one is the North Sea and the red one is the East Sea. And in both, there was an increase in annual average sea temperature from 1 to 1 Celsius, from 10 to 11 in the North Sea. And even though it might not seem like a lot, because it's only 1 degree, for such a big body of water to change its temperature and get hotter, it really takes a lot. And it's showing us that climate change is already happening and changes are already in the making, right? Right, so chances and perspectives. Okay, so at first, coastal protection projects. So we need to invest in coastal defense infrastructure. Examples for that would be dikes, or dune reinforcement, or coastal fortification. One might ask why. It's to protect coastlines from flooding and also from erosion. Right. The second one, restoration of coastal habitat. I mean, I think the name already says what it is. Examples for that would be mangrove forests, wetlands, or seagrass meadows. And those would help to stabilize coastlines, promote biodiversity, which is endangered, and also to reduce flood risks. And as the third point, we have water and resource management. So, of course, it's important to efficiently use our water, not to spend more of it than we actually need, to develop irrigation techniques, and also water recovery systems that could help us reuse water. Right. Next one. Okay, so international cooperation and policy. So it's important that there is participation in international climate agreements. A really important part of it all is the collaboration between different groups, because one person can't change the whole system, and we need different countries and organizations to connect with each other and to research the impacts of climate change and to exchange data that has already been collected over the years. Right, and climate protection agreements, those are just supposed to help us to support things that can actually help, for example, like sustainable fishing or promotion of renewable energies and the already mentioned environmentally friendly transport. For example, like maybe taking the bike instead of the car if the road isn't as long. Right, so for the effective implementation of these strategies, it requires for a lot of different groups to work together, like governments, organizations, the private sector, civil society, and they need to effectively address the challenges to change and ensure a long-term resolution. Now Karl is going to summarize it all for you.
So what we can definitely say, climate change, of course, has a significant bad impact on the North Sea, and also changes the ecological, economic and social things, and these are all very, very big issues. But the opportunities still exist, and we can do something against the climate change, but we need to cooperate with international organizations, and everybody of us has to feel responsible. So, thank you very much for your attention. Everybody of us has to feel responsible and has to change something. We're able to change something. We are the next generation and we have to do something. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much to the team from Germany. And again, any questions you may have, and I also want to ask our group of expertises to add, to ask, or to give any feedback you may have, and we can help with the translation. Okay. Yes, we also invite the team from Poland because there are questions from the table of the. Okay, are you able to come though? Okay, the Polish team they may come. There are some questions for them as well.
Hello, my name is Pedro Guerrero. Nice to meet you. And I love your works. I think it's really important that you people like you is working in that. Your knowledge is, for me, really, really interesting. And I love the projects to solve the problem. We have the common problem with the climatic change. And your solutions or to solve this problem, I love. But in your life, in your common life, what you can do to solve these problems? About the plastic, about your jobs, about your things, your clothes. What can you do?
Okay, so as we mentioned, we have social media, and I think it's as teenagers we can do like create an account on some social media platform and spread the awareness to encourage people to help us. Like maybe we can do like some big project to help us with the plastic problem, with the trash, and just spread the awareness online, not only like locally but worldly, like how like other countries can help us, other people from other countries.
Hello, I am Manolo Vargas from the Spanish Institute of Oceanography. First of all, I would like to congratulate both groups for your work and also for your presentation. Very good presentations. Speaking to the public is not always easy, and you've performed very, very well. Congratulations. And now I have a couple of questions for each group. For instance, in the case of the Polish group, I liked very much your presentation of the Baltic Sea, the description of the temperature, the salinity, the depth, the fauna, all these things. You have mentioned several problems in the Baltic Sea: climate change, pollution, overfishing. In your opinion, which would be the most important of all these three problems that you have mentioned?
So we think that the most important issue in the Baltic Sea is that it's the reason for the pollution, that the biggest one is the waste that is in the Baltic, that is created near the Baltic, that causes the Baltic to be more polluted.
And my second question is the same for both groups, because, for instance, you have shown that the temperature has increased 0.08 degrees per decade. And, for instance, you have shown also an increase in the temperature from 1970 to 2020 of about 1 degree. So maybe sometimes many people, when listen to these figures, they say, okay, 0.08 or 1 degree in 50 years, it's not so important what you are talking about. So what could you tell to these people that think that these numbers are very small, are not important? Well, to avoid this transfer of micro, I would make my second question. My second question is also for both groups. If you have here the policymakers of all these important countries, international organizations, what would you tell them as young people which will live in the planet for the next 50, 100 years?
Right, so, because of the politicians, as you mentioned, I think it's important to tell them that it is a real problem, and even though we might not really see it now and it doesn't seem as bad because we aren't influenced by it now, I think it's really important to think about the fact that the next generations are really gonna be having a lot of problems because of it, and it isn't a wise decision to just leave it up to the next people and just wait until it's too late and until there's no going back. So I think it's important to already take measures now and take it more seriously and involve more people into actually taking action.
So even though it's like for normal people, it's just some low degrees. For example, for the animal and the plants living in the Baltic Sea, that temperature change can be extremely dangerous. Like they cannot get used to the temperature and it can cause the extinction that it's dangerous. Like we don't want the animals to die. We want them to stay with us.
Is there any other question, any other things to remark or to highlight? Or if not, let's again thank both teams from Poland and from Germany, and give a warm welcome to the team from Italy. We will learn about the Tyrrhenian Sea on the coast of Italy.
Good morning, I'm Antonia and she's Teresa. Now we will show you our climate change presentation.
Climate change consists of a rise of global weather, especially due to greenhouse gas emissions. It started on the 19th century as a logical consequence of industrialization and the use of fossil fuels, like coal, oil and gas. The consequences of temperature rise can be seen in fewer rains and severe drought periods, a more and more rising sea level and changes in the distribution of plants.
The effects of climate change are violent and devastating storms, warming oceans, floods, cyclones, and hurricanes. The possible solution to the problem of climate change could be the reduction of energy and light consumption at home, travel by bicycle or on foot, and limitation packaging. Consequences of climate change in the Mediterranean Sea consist of the fact that the average level of the Mediterranean Sea has risen by 6 centimeters in the last 20 years. If we don't stop this problem now, our waters will get warmer and warmer in the following years, and will cause terrible results on the health population.
All these bad consequences are now being carried out, are taking place. They are menacing the so-called mare internum with the introduction of non-native species, such as jellyfish, shrimps, blue crab from the Red Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, and the East. According with the ENEA projection, while the warming of the oceans will be more and more increasing, the salinity of the waters will get more and more decreasing.
In conclusion, we can say that the consequences of this boiling Mediterranean will be the tropicalization of the Mediterranean, in the sense that these non-native species reproduce rapidly, posing threats to biodiversity and human health. Southernization of the Mediterranean, the once distinct boundary between the northern and the southern basins, has confused with the species from southern waters migrating towards the central northern basin. Risk to Posidonia oceanica meadows. Additionally, higher temperatures attract new algae species, invade weakened seagrass spreads, and coastal communities are threatened by the sea level rise.
Solution could be, thanks to mitigation and adaptation strategies, we must reduce greenhouse gas emissions by implementing sustainable energy policies and advocating for renewable energy sources. Additionally, it is vital to introduce adaptation measures to enhance water resource management, urban planning, safeguard the coastal ecosystem, and promote climate-resilient agriculture. Collaboration on an international level is essential for addressing climate change in the Mediterranean. Mediterranean countries need to work together to exchange resources and tackle shared challenges related to climate change. Thank you very much for your attention. Do you have any questions?
Hello, how are you? Congratulations. We have the same problem because we are living in the Mediterranean region. I need to know, what do you think about the drought and the management water in the Mediterranean?
I think that the problem of climate change is a big issue for future generations, since the Earth will be also warmer, so there will be ice melting. So it's difficult also to contrast it, because it is an artificial problem made by the person. But we can, however, we can contrast it, for example, with the reduction of plastic, or when we want to go somewhere we can walk instead of taking the buses, transports. So even we can reduce the pollution. Any other questions?
Okay, first of all, I'd like also to congratulate you for your impressive work. And one thing I like very much about your presentation and the presentation of the other groups is that you do not only talk about the problem, but you also focus on the solutions. Because sometimes when we talk about climate change, it seems like something catastrophic. And in fact, we can do things. And you have proposed several solutions. Some of them are personal solutions. We can do, everybody can do something. For instance, you have talked about walking or using public transport instead of the car, etc., reducing our consumption of energy. My question is, because I have children 2 or 3 years older than you, they already have a driving license, and I spend all the time turning off the lights in my house, and they take the car to go everywhere. So my question is, do you think that young people, you will know better than me because I'm not young anymore, do you think that young people really is concerned about this problem and really they take actions, personal actions to reduce climate change?
Nowadays, there is a big technology impact. So nowadays, everyone is, let's say that is lazy even to go out because there are children that even prefer to stay at home instead of go out, and it's a problem because of this technology impact that in the future will even get maybe worse. We don't know.
Okay, if we finish with the questions, thanks again to the Italian team. And the last of the students' presentation corresponds to Spain. Our local expertise team will talk about the Western Mediterranean and the so-called Alborán Sea, and will give us the result of their research.
Climate is changing, but how does that affect our sea?
Welcome everyone, we are Hannah and Javi from the Spanish team. Today we will introduce our presentation and research about the Alborán Sea, the relationship between these factors and the global climate change. First, we're going to talk about the index.
In the index, we can see that first we're going to talk briefly about the Alborán Sea. Then we will present our research background and data. Afterwards, we will explain some of the innovative projects that are being carried out in order to combat that effects of the climate change. And finally, we will set out our conclusions.
The Alborán Sea is the westernmost part of the Mediterranean Sea. As you can see there is the red part. It lies between the coast of Spain, the south coast of Spain, and the north coast of Africa. It expands about 350 kilometers from east to west and 180 kilometers from north to south. Its area is around 53,000 square kilometers. Its deepness is about 1,000 meters, but it can reach 2,000 meters in its deepest area. The average temperature in August is about 25.3 degrees, and in February is about 15.3 degrees. Now we are going to talk about the temperature. Due to the high temperatures on Earth, the oceans are also rising its temperature. This may sound great for tourists, but is not so great for our seas. The Journal of Marine Science and Engineers indicates that the Alboran Sea is raising its temperature 2 degrees per century, about the 100 and 200 meters deep.
Global warming is causing winters to be milder and atmospheric temperatures to be higher than they have usually been. This means that the cooling of the deeper waters of the Alboran Sea is not taking place as it did years ago. And this could be the reason for the rise in sea temperature. It is rising from the surface to the deeper layers. Moreover, the rate at which it is rising is very intense. The Mediterranean Climate Change Group, GMCC, of the Spanish Institute of Oceanography carried out a project to review and analyze all the information obtained over 30 years in order to make an assessment of the changes that the Mediterranean is undergoing. In this graph from AEMET, it's shown the anomaly of sea surface temperature in the last 80 years from the areas surrounding Spain. As you can see, in the recent years, there's been a tendency for the temperature to rise.
This next graph shows the average temperature in the whole Mediterranean Sea between 1917 and 1999. As you can see, the Alboran Sea area is around 90 degrees.
Now we will talk about salinity. The climate change we've been experimenting has caused an increase in salinity levels in the sea. The sun evaporates the seawater, and it can lead to an increase in salt concentration. We can differentiate three masses of water into which the Alboran Sea can be divided. The first is the Atlantic surface water. From 0 to 150 or 200 meters deep, the temperatures range between 9 and 16 degrees Celsius, and salinity levels around 36.2 and 36.6%. Then we have intermediate Mediterranean water from 200 to 700 meters deep, with salinities greater than 38%. And finally, we have western deep Mediterranean water below 1,000 meters deep, with salinities around 38.4%. Currently, the average salinity of the sea ranges between 36.2 and 36.5%, and these levels are directly influenced by evaporation, although climate change also affects ocean circulation and precipitation patterns. In this graph, you can see the average salinity in 2014 in the Alboran Sea.
Now, acidity. High emissions of carbon dioxide emitted in large quantities by humans, such as greenhouse gases and industrial processes, are causing a great acidity in our seas. Since the first industrial revolution, CO2 levels are increasing in 15%, and this means the reduction of the pH level by 0.1. The INE, National Statistics Institution, says that the pH, the average acidity of the Alboran Sea, is decreasing 0.023 between 2008 and 2020. This may seem insignificant, but it's really important and is a huge deal for our sea. Acidification can affect species with calcareous skeletons or shells, such as sea turtles, shrimp, or any crustaceans that are crucial for the survival of the environment.
Now I'm going to explain the sea level. Sea level is rising globally. According to a study by the Spanish Institute of Oceanography, the rate of sea rise in Spain has doubled in the last 30 years, about 2.8 millimeters each year. They have also analyzed the contribution of different factors to the rise in the sea level. They have concluded that a part of this rise is due to the warming of these waters, which produce the thermal expansion and their increase. And according to the latest calculations of the United Nations Organization, if the global temperature increases by 2 degrees Celsius, which is currently 1.1, the loss in marine ecosystem will have no return.
This graph shows us the sea level rise since 1993, and as you can see, it reaches until 2019 94.4 millimeters. Now I'm going to talk about the coastal zones. Coastal zones are areas where various water flows interactions take place. That makes them a really active area, and that means that they are sensitive to problems caused by human or natural origin. The temperatures, the sea level rise, and the change in storm patterns are the responsible for these events. Beach loss, that is due to the rising level sea, may also be due to flooding and erosion.
And now we're going to explain the climate change impact on biocenosis.
Several studies indicate that increasing global temperatures are the reason for the destabilization of ecosystem and the loss of biodiversity. It affects species such as...
First, we have the loggerhead turtle. It's the most common species of sea turtle in the Spanish coast, and climate change can lead to flooding of the areas where they lay their eggs, and consequently the death of these. On the other hand, the rising temperatures can lead to the birth of more females, which is a problem for the species. Furthermore, in the recent years, as you can see here, the unusual laying of eggs has been observed on Mediterranean coast, being in Fuengirola in 2020 and in Marbella in 2023.
Now, I'm going to talk about salps. Salps are small, harmless invertebrates that are proliferating due to the increase in plankton. That increase is due to the high temperatures. The salps are so important for our sea because it eliminates the CO2 produced by the greenhouse gases. We also have some invasive species, such as an algae that comes from Japan and China. This algae is affecting the Strait of Gibraltar, and it's called Rugulopteryx okamura. Its population explosion was between 2015 and 2016, and it seems to be caused by the high temperatures recorded in several months. As they have no natural predators, they reproduce at an accelerated speed. And we also have another one.
And there are also endangered species, such as the Cladocora caespitosa, a species of coral which it is known that there was a large reef in the Alboran Sea. The increase in the water temperature is the main factor in this great mortality. Now we're going to present some of the innovative projects that are being carried out to take care against the effects of the climate change. First, we have Alborán Azul. It's an environmental project that is being carried out thanks to the collaboration of Liga Naval Mar de Alborán and a group of scientists of the Oceanographic Center of Malaga, among whom we are joined today by Manuel Vargas and Jorge Román. They are responsible for carrying out an in-depth scientific study of the quality of the coastal waters of the Alborán Sea, monitoring parameters such as temperature, salinity, dissolved oxygen levels, and phytoplankton community composition. The aim of this project is the environmental protection of the Alborán Sea and the promotion of sustainable nautical tourism.
In 2020, UMA posted research about professional specializing study of climate change. It aims to give with new solutions to the effects of climate change. We also have Intemares. Intemares is one of the largest marine conservations in Europe, and it's subsidized by the Spanish government. It aims to protect marine areas.
And finally, we will set out our conclusion. After investigating this data, we can conclude that the climate change affects several factors in the Alborán Sea, starting with the rise in the temperatures in the sea that are clearly related to the rise in the Earth's temperature. This and the lack of precipitation cause the water to evaporate and increase salinity levels.
The warming of the waters produces their thermal expansion, causing the sea level to rise. Due to this rise in sea level, there is a loss of beaches that is affecting the coastal zone. Many factors, especially temperature, salinity, and acidity, are affecting our biodiversity, as we talk about the loggerhead turtle and the salps. Well, this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Do you have any questions?
Thanks and congratulations. It's really good. So about the Alborán Sea. What do you know about the coastal cities and the planification of all the urban is in front of the sea? The pressure of these cities, how do you know? Is it good? Is bad? How do you do that?
We know that the tourism that these cities carry out brings so many tourists that can leave so much trash in the sea and consequently contribution to the climate change. So I think these cities can help the climate change to be increased.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to very sincerely congratulate you because it seems to me impressive work. I want to say this in front of your friends and your teachers because you have used such a large amount of information. I'm sure you have learned a lot doing this work. You have presented the Alborán Sea at present. You have talked about the increase of temperature, of sea level, salinity, the changes in acidity, invasive species. I think you have touched all these issues. So really, it's impressive. And you have learned to use this information. You will have used internet, also satellite images you have presented here. It's a very, very, very good work. So I simply want to make this comment to congratulate you and just to make you a question. What could you say to those people that think or say that there's no solution, that we can just wait to see what happens? What message could you give to these people?
Well, first, thank you very much for your congratulations. And personally, I think that these people may think that there is no solution because only a few people are raising awareness and are trying to stop this, to stop the climate change, or at least reduce it. So I think that instead of these few people, a lot of people contribute and help, it would be easier and we could make a change. Do you have any other questions? No? Is that all? Okay, thank you.
So this has been the last presentation. Thank you to the Spanish team. Thanks also to Jorge, Manuel, Belém, and Pedro for your question, your participation. And now we will have a break. We will have some breakfast for the audience, for the students from Cerro del Viento. I remind you that you will have breakfast outside Casa de la Cultura on the stairs. We see you back again at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, we are in advance, so we will save some time. And 12 o'clock, back again. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back again. Let's go on with this symposium. We have the roundtable of experts from the academia. We have introduced them previously, but again, I want to tell you that we will start with Jorge Román from Proyecto Alborán Azul with his speech. We also have Manuel Vargas from the CSIC. We have Belén Muñoz from the Service of Environmental Sanity in the City Hall of Benalmádena, the City Council. And Pedro Rodríguez from the University of Málaga. Some of the speeches will be carried out in Spanish, but you have a dossier with a translation in English, and I will try to help the participants to translate, to enable especially international students to follow the main points. And of course, again, you are invited to participate, to ask your questions. I know some of the audience, some people in the audience want to take part and give us ideas and questions and so on. I think Karen is handing out these dossiers, these documents. If you're interested in teachers and international students, they are handing out them. In a minute, once it's ready, we will start. The first turn is for Pedro Alborán from the Proyecto Alborán Azul. We will carry out this speech together with him.
No, yo voy a leer. Buenos días y bienvenidos a este simposio internacional. Soy Jorge Román, vicepresidente de la Liga Naval Mar de Alborán y director de operaciones del proyecto medioambiental Alborán Azul. El proyecto medioambiental Alborán Azul se enmarca dentro del concepto de ciencia ciudadana, donde personas sin conocimientos científicos colaboran con instituciones como en este caso el Instituto Español de Oceanografía de Málaga, aportando nuestra experiencia y nuestro trabajo en el mar para ayudar a la investigación y lograr los objetivos propuestos por ambas instituciones. Participan activamente en este proyecto medioambiental Alborán Azul y navegan con nosotros tanto los estudiantes de las diferentes carreras universitarias relacionadas con el mar como estudiantes internacionales que visitan el Centro Oceanográfico de Málaga. Hemos establecido la base del proyecto Alborán Azul gracias a la colaboración del Ayuntamiento en el puerto deportivo de Benalmádena, por ser un punto estratégico a mitad de camino entre los municipios costeros de Manilva y Nerja, donde desarrollamos el proyecto. Contamos también con la colaboración de la Agencia Pública de Puertos de Andalucía para las escalas y atraque en sus puertos durante las travesías de toma de muestras. Para el desarrollo práctico de este proyecto, la Liga Naval Mar de Alborán cuenta con una embarcación motovelero de 11 metros de eslora como patrulla marítima medioambiental y un perfilador de última generación que proporciona el Centro Oceanográfico de Málaga y que a profundidades de entre 60 y 80 metros nos indicarán diferentes parámetros como temperatura, salinidad, pH, etc. Asimismo, se realizará el análisis en el laboratorio de las muestras de aguas recogidas para que los investigadores del Centro Oceanográfico de Málaga puedan elaborar el más completo diagnóstico científico del estado de las aguas costeras del Mar de Alborán. Ambas instituciones, el Instituto Español de Oceanografía de Málaga y la Liga Naval Mar de Alborán, nos hemos marcado un ambicioso objetivo de toma de muestras y parámetros a lo largo de todo un año que hace que el proyecto medioambiental Alborán Azul sea pionero y un referente a nivel nacional. El objetivo es recorrer todos los meses los 150 kilómetros de los 14 municipios costeros de la provincia de Málaga. Manilva, Casares, Estepona, Marbella, Mijas, Fuengirola, Benalmádena, Torremolinos, Málaga, Vélez Málaga, Rincón de la Victoria, Algarrobo, Torrox y Nerja. Estos son los 14 municipios por los que vamos a estar durante todo el año haciendo este trabajo, logrando así pues, una toma de más de 150 muestras y análisis de agua. Gracias a las nuevas tecnologías, toda la información relativa a esta toma de muestras estará a disposición y en tiempo real tanto en la web del Instituto Oceanográfico Español de Málaga como en la web de la Liga Naval Mar de Alborán y en una web concreta que hemos denominado Alborán Azul, alboránazul.es. La Consejería de Medio Ambiente de la Junta de Andalucía ha mostrado mucho interés por este proyecto y nos ha facilitado, a través de sus delegaciones tanto de Málaga como de Almería, la autorización durante un periodo de 2 años para la recogida de muestras y análisis de agua también en el paraje natural de la isla de Alborán, que como sabéis pues bueno, está integrada en el centro, digamos, de lo que es el mar de Alborán. Vamos a acercarnos allí, para ello hemos establecido diferentes convenios con embarcaciones privadas que nos van a acercar periódicamente a la isla de Alborán para llevar a cabo este tipo de toma de muestras. Este proyecto, el proyecto medioambiental Alborán Azul, es un proyecto abierto y participativo, tanto para particulares como para empresas e instituciones que quieran colaborar y ayudar al cuidado y protección del mar de Alborán. Y se pueden poner en contacto también a través de nuestra página web, todos aquellos que quieran participar y colaborar, alboránazul.es. En estos momentos, bueno, desde que hemos empezado el proyecto Alborán Azul, se están impartiendo charlas educativas sobre la flora y fauna del mar de Alborán a los alumnos de primero de la ESO de los diferentes institutos de los 14 municipios costeros de la provincia de Málaga que visita nuestra patrulla marítima medioambiental. Por último, quiero destacar que el proyecto medioambiental Alborán Azul es también un proyecto solidario e inclusivo. La tripulación de la patrulla marítima medioambiental está compuesta por parte del equipo adaptado de vela de crucero de la Liga Naval Mar de Alborán, formada por personas con diferentes tipos de discapacidad física y sensorial, que de esta manera consiguen realizar uno de sus principales objetivos, que es el de navegar por aguas del Mar de Alborán. Esto es todo. Muchísimas gracias por su atención. Gracias.
Thank you, Jorge. The next to speak is Manuel Vargas from the CSIC.
Hello, good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank very much, very sincerely, to this ES Cerro del Viento for inviting me to take part in this journey. It's very interesting. And as I said, I congratulate also to all the groups that have presented very impressive works. When I was asked here to speak for about 10 or 15 minutes to you, so I thought, what could I tell you? I'm working in the Spanish Institute of Oceanography and in a research group devoted to the study of the climate change in the Mediterranean Sea. So obviously I could give you many details, many data about the effects of climate change in the Mediterranean, and in particular in the Alborán Sea. But I am sure that later in a week you will forget all this data. I'm also sure that you, the groups that have presented all these very good works, you have learned a lot of things. But also, you will in the future forget some of these things because you will learn other things. So I thought, what could I tell you that you remember, hopefully, for always? What message would be so important that you could keep in your mind for all your life. So I thought that there are two main ideas that I would like to transmit to you. The first idea is to distinguish between weather and climate, because in the media usually there is very much misunderstanding between these two concepts. And this misunderstanding is sometimes used by those people who deny the existence of climate change. So we have to have very clear this concept. The second concept, the second idea I would like to tell you is about the importance of the scientific method, which you have used for preparing this work that you have presented today. First, we have to stress that the weather is something that we can measure. We can take measurements of the temperature of the air or the temperature of the sea. We can take measurements of the rain. We can take measurements of the speed of the wind, etc. Furthermore, the weather is something that we can feel. We can feel if the weather is rainy or is warm or is cold. But climate cannot be measured, cannot be felt. Climate is something that we can calculate. It's a statistical concept. For instance, weather has a very large variability. If we go now to the sea here in Benalmádena and we measure the temperature, maybe we can measure 16 degrees. But if we go the 12th of March, not of this year, but in 10 years' time, we can measure, for instance, 18. Someone could say, okay, 10 years ago the temperature was 16 degrees and now it is 18. This is climate change. No, it is not. It's simply the natural variability of the atmosphere and of the sea. In the same way, when we have these cold waves, the deniers say, okay, there's no climate change because now the weather is colder. No, it's simply the variability of the weather. We have a weather in the atmosphere, the atmospheric weather, and we also have the marine weather. So, the concept of climate change is statistical. What we are watching is the change in these statistics. Let's go with the example of the Benalmádena Sea. We go there and we have measured the temperature of the sea during 30 years or more. So we know that the temperature can change very much, but we know that the mean value for March will be 16 degrees. And we also know that the range of variability is plus minus 1 degree. So I'm sure that if I go out to measure the temperature of the sea, it will be between 15 and 17 degrees. And this is very important because certainly there's people who say, okay, you cannot predict the weather the next month. How you're going to predict the weather in 10 years' time? How can I be sure that climate change is something real? We cannot predict the weather, but we can predict the climate. The second question I think that we should have very clear is the power of the scientific method. And this is very important for you young people because now we are facing a time where there's a lot of people who denies climate change, who denies that the earth is a sphere and think that the earth is flat, or denies that we have arrived to the moon, or deny the usefulness of the vaccines. Obviously, scientists can be wrong sometimes. There are many examples in history where scientists were wrong. We thought for many centuries that the Earth was the center of the universe and the sun was going around. Obviously, we were wrong. Even today, we can make mistakes. But the important is not scientists. The important is the scientific method. What's the scientific method? All these studies that you have presented here, all the scientific studies are based on this powerful method that has made that today we have the wellness and we live the way we live today. The scientific method is based on facts, on observations. When we talk about climate change, we do not talk about beliefs. I believe that there is climate change. I believe that sea level is rising. We believe about facts. The scientific method consists in making observations of nature. And after these observations, we make our hypothesis. And then again, we have to test our hypothesis against new observations. If our hypotheses fail to pass this test, we reject them. Doesn't matter what are my ideas, my beliefs. Doesn't matter how smart, how intelligent is this theory. It doesn't matter who has made this theory. It was made by this scientist, which was very, very intelligent. If the theories fail this test against new observations, against facts, we reject them, and then we have to make new hypotheses. On the other hand, if, as in the case of climate change, our theories, our hypotheses agree with facts, with observations, not with opinions, with facts, then we continue constructing upon these theories. This is very important to understand how science works. This is the way it works, because now you have the responsibility to explain it everywhere you go, to your friends, to your relatives, anywhere you go. You can be also important persons to spread this message. When scientists say that climate change is real, it's not an opinion. It's not a belief. It is based on scientific knowledge. And obviously, sometimes scientists, we can be wrong, but the scientific method is not wrong. If we are wrong, we will detect those mistakes, because we will continue testing our hypotheses against facts. Do not believe people who simply say opinions without facts supporting our observations, supporting these opinions. And please be also yourself people spreading this message. And in these times when so many people deny science, try to help to spread this message, the importance of science for making better our lives and for fighting against climate change. Thank you.
Thanks, Manuel Vargas, also Jorge Román. As it's intended to be a round table, I think it will be important for you to participate, to give you, again, questions, observations, opinions. We can give you the microphone, and teachers, please, students, general audience, take part in this round table. There is a question here. I will give you the microphone.
Thank you very much. Hello and good morning. My name is Arshia. I have a question. Do you think that nowadays we are doing enough job to stop the climate change?
Okay, it's a question about the measures we have taken to change the climate change, to stop it, if we have done enough job stopping it. Trabajo suficiente. Any of you, and we go on. Yeah.
Okay, your question is if we have done enough job. Well, there are 2 points of view. We have done enough job to detect, to know that climate change is real, and so to arise concern about climate change, then the answer is categorically yes. We still have a lot of work to do, but yes, we have a lot of information, especially since 1970s. We also have available the satellite images, the satellite data, and so we have such a huge amount of data that make that we can say that climate change is a fact. We also make what is called data archaeology, which is to look for all data which are sometimes lost somewhere, and then we can reconstruct the climate for the last century. And also there are paleoclimatologists, people who is able to study the climate in centuries ago when we had no records of temperature or whatever, rain or etc. So with all this information, we have done enough work to know that this is real and to raise concern about this. If the question is, have we done enough to stop it? The answer is no. Obviously, we need global agreements because this is a global problem. There are two questions. It's very important not to forget the local solutions. For instance, I'm sure Belén will talk or can talk better than me about this. Each one has to take his responsibility, and we can take local solutions, even personal solutions. As I said before, we can turn off the light, we can walk, we can do a lot of things. We can ask our politicians to take seriously this problem, but from the point of view of global agreements, we haven't done enough.
Okay, we have another question in the back of the room. Microphone.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Alfonso, and I'm teacher from the Cerro del Viento. The question is just a reflection. I'm an optimistic person, so if the society in a global way has changed points of view, important points of view. For instance, I think that we are in a continent that has solved problems like racism. We are in a tolerant society. We are also in a continent that has been a lot of job for the women rights, and now we are in a good society for this. So with this approach, taking into account that we have been winning these things, why don't use the same tools about all the successful things against the racism or against that women hadn't have the same rights, and we can copy these structures in order to solve the global warming, for instance. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Alfonso.
Hello, thanks for the question. I think we are working in that. We are working in that all the time. We are working, like you say, why we don't use the same policies about that. I think we are working back, but it's really, really, really difficult because when we speak about the climatic change, we speak about the economy. And when the economy is in front of you, it's really difficult to put some policies, because if you affect the economy of a region or a country, you are fighting against the maybe the highest sectors in the world. So we are working because I think the balance in all of that is the answer. The balance is the hour of all. But now we are working, maybe not the balance, but we are working in solve the big problems. The big problems now is ¿Puedo hablar español? Los mayores problemas que tenemos que resolver a día de hoy son los más importantes para nosotros, que son los que sabemos perfectamente que nos afectan. ¿Qué nos está afectando a día de hoy más? Pues tenemos que resolver primero problemas para poder vivir en las regiones que son hotspot del planeta, para poder seguir viviendo en ellas. En este sentido, la gestión de los recursos, del agua, de la energía, de los alimentos y de los ecosistemas, ese equilibrio y ese balance entre ellos es lo más importante. Tenemos que llegar a un balance sin afectar directamente a la economía, porque si nos enfrentamos directamente a la economía no estamos haciendo nada. Tenemos que entender que las sinergias y que al final todos ganemos. El que entienda que sin ecosistemas no tiene dinero o el que entienda que sin ecosistemas no hay futuro, al final entraremos en ese balance, en ese juego de que entenderemos que los ecosistemas son dinero. Cuando intentemos valorizar económicamente la conservación de los ecosistemas, la conservación de la biodiversidad, entenderemos todo. Por eso la política en este sentido, cuando hablamos de cambio climático, es muy difícil porque enfrente tenemos a un lobby muy importante.
Okay, I would like to add something because I liked very much your question. I thank you because in fact we have been able to fight against the inequality between men and women. We have been able to fight against racism. So your question, why we are not able to do the same with climate change? I think it's important, these global agreements that we're talking about, it's important the laws to make these changes. But really, the change comes when we are able to change the society, the way we think. Laws can be helpful, but they are not enough. And so now there's more equality between men and women because society is concerned about this problem. So I want to take the opportunity, the chance of this question to speak to all these young people. The future depends on you. Society has to be concerned and decided to fight against climate change. It doesn't matter what the politicians do. It doesn't matter the agreements that we reach if the society is not convinced of the importance of changing the way we live. And this is your responsibility. You are the students. I have seen here that really you are aware of the importance of climate change, that you have to speak out to the rest of the people and explain this. And not only this, you have to give the example. For instance, as I said, I have children. If I tell my children, do this, but I don't do that, they will not do that. The best way to explain an idea is with the example. So you have to, in your actions, in your day by day, you have to fight against climate change. You have to follow all these recommendations to save energy, to try to protect the environment. And then all your colleagues, all your friends that see what you do, probably some of them will follow you. In this way, we will change society in the way we have changed with other problems, as your teacher said.
Thank you for the questions. I know there are more pending questions, and we will have later a new turn for asking them. But I would like also to go on with Belén Muñoz from the Town Council and Pedro Rodríguez from the University of Malaga, and they also have things to tell us. We will have a new opportunity for asking them questions, but let's go on with their interventions.
Hello, how are you? My English is not so good, you know, but I'm going to try to do in English, okay? I'm Pedro Guerrero and I'm coming from the University of Malaga. I am a researcher in the climatic change chair of the university, and I work with a group of researchers to try to solve the the problem in the cities of the Alboran Sea. The coastal cities in the Alboran Sea is affected because we are living in a hot spot. We are living in Alboran Sea. Is a peculiar place in the world because we have many traffic, maritime traffic, and we are living in a maybe close sea. And all that you do in the Alboran Sea is affected so much and is different than in another place. You have seen before the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. Maybe it's similar, but here in Alboran Sea we have a problem more because we are warming 20% than the world average. We are warming faster. We are warming, and all the problems is increasing all the time because the climatic change is increasing all of that. We are overfishing, pollution, maritime trade, and coastal development, and intending the Mediterranean. We have a problem with the territorial management and planning. All the people wants live here because here we have the climate comfort, the more climate comfort, the best climate comfort in the world, because it's similar than the human requires. The humans requires the average degrees and humidity than we have here in the Costa del Sol, in the Mediterranean region. So you can see the problem of the construction in the last 50 years. Okay. The total population for the Costa del Sol in the horizon of 2030 is like that. You can see here. So we have a problem because the coast cities are becoming an uncomfortable place to live. We need a good planification, good territorial planification and management. We have to change this, and we need nature-based solutions. We need more vegetation in our cities. We need change, all of that. So now we have heat waves and the Mediterranean regions. In summer here, it's really difficult to walk in our cities. It's really difficult to stay in the street. It's really difficult to stay in our place and playing in the street, because we have living an increasing of the temperature in the summertime, and the summertime is longer. However, currently the climate crisis plays the regional ground zero, and which affects global warming will worsen south in century. Among others, more and longer seltzing, heat waves, an increase in torrid nights or decrease of rainy days, although the intensity of the rainfall will increase. You can see the big cities, the big coastal cities in the Alboranian Sea. These cities are affected so much because we have a particularity. The ecosystems in the Mediterranean are really important for us because the ecosystem has to. We have the temperature and humidity that we need to live here, and we are losing all the ecosystem in the coastal cities and the big coastal cities. Okay. We are increasing all the temperatures and decreasing the precipitation. So this change in 50 years is really important for us because it changes all. All the strategies, it changes. All the planification is changing. And we need to think about that, because if we growing up all the time and we need more water all the time, the precipitation is growing down. So I think we have a problem. The strategy of managing the water, we have to change and we have to think about that. Okay? All this, we need look for balance because all these activities in the Alboranian space we need to do. So I think that we need a balance about the bird migration, migration of marine spaces, natural protected areas, but we need to balance with the industrial activities, touristic activities, maritime traffic. So the secret of that no is eliminate all the touristic activities, the industrial activities. I think the secret of that is in the balance, and we are working in that. Okay? So now the consequence of the climatic change is rising sea levels, heat waves, killer storms, drought, endangered species, diseases, disappearance of glaciers, social conflicts, economic instability, the destruction of ecosystems. So the answer is the nature. We need more nature near us, near our cities. We need to conservation the ecosystems, and we need to apply a nature-based solution in our coastal cities because we need to conservation all the comfort, the climate comfort, if we need to live here. Okay. So we are working in Alboranian Green Belt. We need to increase all the biodiversity around the Alboranian Sea, and we need to connect all the protected natural spaces to be able to create an ecological corridor on the coast of the Alboranian Sea that recovers biodiversity and climatic comfort. So we are working in connected all the protected natural space. And two, in the same time, we're collaborating with another departments, marine departments in our university to increase the maritime area protected too in the Alboranian Sea, because the ecosystem, all the ecosystem is connected. Okay, and now in the cities, we are many projects working in the territorial planification with vegetation inside. We are creating fresh air arteries, bioclimatic space, and climatic shelters, because we need to preserve the primitive geography and structure in the city, promote the concentration of green spaces avoiding their fragmentation, maximize plant coverage, and choose absorbent materials. We are changing the cities. We are changing, and if we are going to growing up, we need to grow with thinking about that. Okay, to increase the area protection, okay, we study all the bioclimatic diagrams of vegetative growth of the 6 stations of the Alboranian space. We need to know the vegetation now, so in 2100, in 2100, now. So we need to know all the bioclimatic diagrams because we need to regeneration and restore all the ecology systems, thinking about that and thinking in the horizons, future horizons. Okay. So we are studied the species in common species in the coast, Europe coast and African coast, because we need to connect all with this knowledge. We cannot plant. We cannot plant if I don't know which plants, how I need to restoration of the ecological systems. These are the plant species in common for a good ecological restorations. Okay, thanks for your attention. Sorry for my English.
There was a question in the background row, so it's your turn.
Hello, I'm going to try in English. I want to know if when you had your debate, teenager, if you spoke about stopping eating fish. It's something that the ecological lobby like Sea Shepherd are speaking about, and it's true that we are speaking a lot about reducing our consumption of meat, of red meat. But about fish, we are not still speaking about that. So the teenager or the specialist could tell me what they think about that. And the teenager also explained the salinization of Mar de Alborán is going up. So I want to know what you think about the installation of desalinization plants around the coast. Would it have an impact about the salinization and the ecosystem of the Mar de Alborán? There are two questions. Thank you.
The question is for the Spanish team? For our Spanish students or for the table?
Polish or the German or the Spanish economy the same way. So just to know if during the debate and when they prepare their exposition, is it a point that you spoke about?
So where is Javi? Here
First,
is
you
Javi.
don't want to say this.
I have Javi here with me, and maybe he would like to answer if you have worked on the topic that is being questioned.
Well, the Spanish team didn't mention anything related to the fishing factory or the meat consumption, but we did a research in other factors such as temperature, salinity, but we didn't want to give any more details of which are the causes of the increase. So if anyone can answer this other question, because the Spanish team didn't mention anything about this.
Thank you very much, Javi, for that quick answer. Very good. Congratulations. Excellent solution, and I'm sure somebody in the table will be able to give an answer to these expert questions.
Yes, I could say something about both questions. First of all, I have to say I'm not a specialist in fisheries concerning the eating fishes, but the Spanish Institute of Oceanography is, by law, is the advisory body of the Spanish government in all the subjects related to fisheries. So I have colleagues devoted to this question, and I have learned along 30 years something about this. So eating or not eating fish has no impact on climate change or different things. It's another question. Important, well, there is an ethical or moral question of eating fishes or this something personal, each one. But from the climatic point of view, has no impact on climate change. Another question is that our fisheries have to be sustainable. I mean, but that's the work of, for instance, all the fisheries biologists in the Spanish Institute of Oceanography, to provide assessment to the government to say when we can fish, what we can fish, which is the age and the size of the fishes that we can fish. And we submit all this assessment to the government so they can take the measurements to protect the fisheries. If we fish in a sustainable way, we can go on fishing forever. Our question is that we provide the assessment and then the governments can follow or not follow our assessment. The other question is the salinification of the Alboran Sea. This is a very interesting question because at present, in our data on more than 100 years, we have detected that, in fact, the Alboran Sea is increasing its salinity. The Spanish group has explained it very, very well. In the Mediterranean Sea, in all the Mediterranean Sea, the evaporation exceeds the precipitations and the water that comes from the rivers. But then we have the supply from the Atlantic Ocean to compensate for this deficit of water. So, as I said, we have observed that salinity has risen, and as you said, it could have some impact on the ecosystems. But in the future, the projections, the models predict that the salinity is going to decrease in the Mediterranean. So at the present, this is a controversy in the scientific world. We are observing a salinity increase because, as I said, the evaporation exceeds precipitation, and as evaporation is increasing and precipitation is decreasing, this is increasing the salinity of the Mediterranean. But on the other hand, because of the melting of the ice in Greenland and Antarctica, it is expected that the water that comes into the Mediterranean Sea through the Strait of Gibraltar will be fresher and fresher. So, which of these two competing opposite effects will be more important? The melting and the fresh water coming through the Strait of Gibraltar, on the increase of evaporation and decrease of precipitation in the Mediterranean Sea? At the moment, salinity is increasing, but certainly we are not sure what's going to happen in the future, and so we are not sure what will be the effect on the ecosystems.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es David y mi pregunta es para Jorge Román. Los equipos de trabajo han mencionado varios motivos de contaminación del mar, pero ¿qué opina usted de la contaminación vertida por el petróleo de las embarcaciones a motor que navegan en las costas del mar de Alborán y del incremento de este tipo de embarcaciones en los últimos años? Gracias.
Bueno, efectivamente es una gran preocupación de todos los que participamos en este proyecto Alborán Azul, pero es más importante, desde nuestro punto de vista, la contaminación de los grandes buques que pasan por el mar de Alborán, que son aproximadamente, y es una cifra real, más de 200.000 buques al año, pasando por el canal hacia el estrecho de Gibraltar y en el otro sentido. Realmente esto sí es una preocupación, no la de los barcos, que la mayoría de la costa malagueña y de la costa andaluza son veleros y que no utilizan tanto el motor. La contaminación en este tipo de embarcaciones de recreo es mínima. El gran problema es el de las embarcaciones grandes, el de los petroleros, el de los mercantes que pasan. Pero claro, están pasando por aguas que no pertenecen tampoco a España y es bastante complicado controlar esa contaminación. Yes, I just, as the other teacher said before, I'm also optimistic. The problem of the contamination of navigation, the solution is at the moment, it's closer and closer. Maybe it's something that we do not hear very much about in the media, but it's the green hydrogen. I mean, at the present, the big vessels, as said Jorge, could sail with green hydrogen, which do not produce emissions of
of gases. The problem is that at the moment it's not cost effective. The price of the green hydrogen is too expensive, but I think I'm very optimistic. There is a lot of research on this area, and I think in the next decades we will see that not only the vessels, also the airplanes, which are another source of contamination, will operate with this green hydrogen, and so we will solve this problem. I'm optimistic. Maybe I'm not realistic, but I am.
¿Se me escucha? Me voy a levantar. Bueno, buenos días. No hablo inglés, lo entiendo, pero no lo hablo. Quiero dar las gracias a la organización por haberme invitado. En el tema cuando vemos los datos sobre el tema del cambio climático o la emergencia climática, es difícil en muchas ocasiones ser optimista. Pero la verdad es que hoy me llevo una inyección de optimismo a ver a tanta gente joven, comprometida, formada, implicada. Os felicito por las presentaciones que habéis hecho esta mañana porque han sido de un nivel muy alto. Y yo trabajo en el Ayuntamiento de Benalmádena, soy técnica de salud y de medio ambiente, soy la responsable del Plan Municipal de Cambio Climático y creo que viene bien que sea la última en intervenir porque voy a hablar un poco de la parte de aplicación a lo local, porque estamos viendo que el tema de la emergencia climática es un problema global que requiere de intervenciones o de acciones globales, pero también esas acciones globales se tienen que traducir en acciones locales. Se ha hablado de cómo hacer desde la ciudadanía, cómo se ha hecho con otras estrategias, ¿no? Yo creo que la revolución aquí tiene que venir de abajo arriba, tiene que ser la sociedad, yo creo mucho en el poder de la ciudadanía, la que cambie, la que nos lleve un poco a ver la luz en este asunto. Nuestros hábitos de consumo mueven la economía, o sea, la economía depende de lo que nosotros consumamos o hagamos, luego tenemos un poder importante ahí también como ciudadanos individualmente, ¿no? Y luego a nivel, el impacto que tiene, se ha hablado aquí, yo que trabajo en el área de salud, el tema del impacto del cambio climático o de la emergencia climática sobre la salud es brutal. De hecho, no estaríamos hablando de cambio climático si no hubiéramos amenazado a nuestra propia especie, la supervivencia de la especie, porque las demás especies parece como que no nos importa mucho, pero ya cuando vemos que nos toca a nosotros de cerca es cuando nos ponemos más las pilas. Y el tema de la pérdida de la biodiversidad, que es una de las consecuencias de la emergencia climática, tiene un impacto fortísimo sobre la salud. Si nos damos cuenta, las últimas enfermedades, incluso la pandemia del COVID, es una enfermedad que tiene como fondo la emergencia climática y los cambios que estamos provocando en el medio ambiente, cómo estamos reduciendo la biodiversidad porque estamos reduciendo los espacios naturales donde conviven las especies silvestres. Y están saltando los virus, las bacterias y todos esos microorganismos de los animales a las personas y estamos viendo que todas las últimas enfermedades han sido transmitidas de animales a personas. Entonces, que nuestra salud, la de los animales y la del medio ambiente está interconectada y ya hablamos de una salud, no una salud humana, de una salud y todo está interconectado. Bueno, esto un poco como introducción, puesto que yo vengo del área de la salud, quiero un poco dejar ese mensaje. Y a nivel local, ¿qué se puede hacer para luchar contra el cambio climático? Bueno, pues a nivel local lo que tenemos que hacer es aplicar medidas locales que van dirigidas, por un lado, sobre las causas que están provocando esta emergencia climática, este calentamiento global, y sobre las consecuencias. Por un lado, vamos a mitigar las causas que sabemos que son la emisión de gases de efecto invernadero, pues a través de medidas de reducción de esos gases o de proyectos de absorción de esos gases o de medidas de ahorro en las emisiones, como pueden ser pues, la de hacer edificios más eficientes, utilizar energías renovables, eso va a reducir las emisiones de los gases procedentes de combustibles fósiles. Quiero decir que Benalmádena tiene la mayor parte de sus emisiones procedentes del transporte privado, luego tenemos una parte muy importante ahí como responsabilidad en la reducción de esas emisiones, pues, modificando nuestros hábitos de movilidad. Por otro lado, por ejemplo, ahora por ejemplo estamos haciendo en Benalmádena, planificando la zona de bajas emisiones, a las que estamos obligados como municipio mayor de 50.000 habitantes a tener una zona de bajas emisiones donde se restrinja el tráfico para reducir las emisiones. Pues tenemos que medir las emisiones que tenemos ahora y tenemos que hacer una planificación para ver cómo vamos a reducirlas. ¿Y qué problema tenemos? Que vivimos en una zona de costa donde hay muchas corrientes de aire y nosotros problemas de concentración de gases en la ciudad tenemos pocas porque tenemos una zona costera. Pero eso no quita que nosotros no tengamos que reducir las emisiones, porque las emisiones que nosotros provocamos van al planeta. O sea, nosotros tenemos una responsabilidad global con las emisiones globales del planeta. Tenemos que reducirlas, aunque a nosotros personalmente no nos afecten en este caso concretamente, como le puede afectar, por ejemplo, la ciudad de Granada, que tiene unas concentraciones de gases en la ciudad muy altas, ¿no? Por ejemplo, otra particularidad de Benalmádena, pues nosotros problemas de inundaciones no tenemos. Nosotros tenemos problemas para ir poner carriles bici porque tenemos muchas cuestas. Ahora, esto no se nos inunda. Nosotros tenemos otros problemas, de inundaciones no. Entonces, lo que se hace a nivel de políticas medioambientales en un municipio es analizar cuáles son los impactos que tiene la emergencia climática sobre nuestro municipio concretamente y tomar medidas. Medidas que, como os he dicho, pues van en ese sentido. Pues, por ejemplo, en las medidas de eficiencia energética, pues el ayuntamiento pues promueve que sus edificios pues mejoren su eficiencia energética, instalen placas solares o energías renovables. Por ejemplo, tenemos proyectos de absorción de CO2 pues en zonas degradadas donde se hacen empresas vienen al municipio y ponemos a disposición suya pues un espacio donde ellos pueden hacer plantaciones o crear bosques que a ellos les compensan sus emisiones y a nosotros nos sirven como sumideros de CO2. Creamos nuevas zonas verdes, sabemos que tenemos que sombrear las calles y la ciudad para bajar la temperatura y evitar los efectos de islas de calor que provoca cuando se calienta el asfalto y emite, como si fuera una estufa, el calor al ambiente. Y esas, por ejemplo, serían medidas. Crear huertos urbanos, favorecer la economía local, para que promover que no compremos alimentos que tengan que venir los mangos de Perú o como consumidores tenemos también ese poder de decir, hoy voy a un supermercado y veo que el mango viene de Perú. Cuando tenemos mangos en la sarquía, que a lo mejor no es la temporada, compremos productos de temporada, compremos productos de proximidad y estaremos promoviendo reducir nuestra huella ecológica, que es al final lo que individualmente podemos contribuir. Entonces, bueno, pues deciros eso, que en Benalmádena tiene un plan municipal contra el cambio climático que se aprobó en mayo del año pasado, que lo podéis consultar en la página web del ayuntamiento, donde se ven acciones concretas dirigidas a objetivos de reducción y de adaptación. Y si queréis preguntar algo al respecto, pues no tengo más que decir, que animaros, que como ciudadanos tenéis mucha fuerza, que nos organicemos y que la esperanza, desde luego, está en la ciudadanía y en vosotros como jóvenes, pues muchísimo más. Así que os animo a que luchéis y seguís colaborando contribuyendo a que podamos todos entre todos luchar contra esta amenaza que tenemos encima y que ya pues no nos queda otra que adaptarnos. Muchas gracias.
Are there any questions in the room? I will just very briefly summarize what the technician from the town hall has been informing for our international guests. And she represents the town hall and the measures that have been taken in our municipality to try and produce some solutions and some studies on research and specific fields to be able to implement some solutions which seem to be on the way. And we are very thankful to see that she is optimistic and looks towards the future to see that we can put things into perspective. So there is a question at the back somewhere. Yes, okay. And where is Elisa? Elisa wanted to ask something, I think.
Hi, I'm Aurora, a student from IES Cerro del Viento. And my question is, which do you think is the best way to convince those countries who don't believe in climate change?
So to the table, I understand. You're asking the question to the table. You want to hear it again? Yes, Aurora, again.
So, which do you think is the best way to convince those countries who don't believe in climate change?
A la mesa, la pregunta es para la mesa. ¿Cuáles son las opciones para aquellos países que no creen en las soluciones? ¿Cómo podemos convencer a los países no colaboradores?
Voy a intentar contestar. ¿Cómo lograr convencer a aquellos países? Vamos, yo es que la idea de enfrentar economía y cambio climático me parece es contradictorio, porque es que si no hay planeta, no hay economía. Es que si hay problemas de seguridad alimentaria, la economía que está alrededor de la seguridad alimentaria también se viene abajo. O sea, si aquí no tomamos medidas para paliar los efectos del cambio climático, el turismo se nos viene abajo, que es nuestra principal economía. Entonces yo creo que es que va asociado. Convencer a los países siempre es convencerlos a través de que les va a ir mejor económicamente si luchan contra el cambio climático. Es que yo no veo mucha más... Hombre, eso es un argumento de fuerza, hay otros, pero ese es un argumento de fuerza. O sea, es decir, la economía va a ir mejor si trabajamos juntos por tener un país en el que todos vivamos mejor. Porque, por ejemplo, aquí no se ha hablado tampoco, y cuando ha salido Italia y España, no hemos hablado del tema de las migraciones climáticas, que es un problema que cuando se habla de cambio climático hablamos de qué medidas vamos a tomar para adaptarnos, pero ¿cómo nos vamos a adaptar a la cantidad de gente que nos va a venir en Europa procedente de países donde el clima va a ser extremo y no van a tener para comer? O sea, es que no sé, ni para beber. ¿Cómo convencer? Pues que todos tenemos que trabajar pues, para que no nos vengan todas esas personas, que sus países puedan vivir correctamente. Entonces, los países ricos también tenemos un interés en que a todo nos vaya bien. No sé, es mi argumento.
I have a question regarding the water usage here, because my teacher told me that all of her towels in her hotel had been switched with fresh ones, even though she didn't indicate that she wanted that to happen. So I wanted to ask if there are any laws or initiatives against extensive or wasteful water usage that is caused by tourism.
For the table. So interesting because we have debate, which is good.
Medidas específicas de ahorro de agua que se puedan implementar. Pues yo creo que en el tema del agua, cuando no hay agua, la principal medida es evitar que se pierda la poca que hay, mejorar las redes de conducción a nivel local para que no se pierda, utilizar el agua regenerada, que desechamos muchísima, y podríamos ahorrar para el riego de jardines, desplegar toda esa red de agua regenerada a las zonas verdes, que además nos hacen falta a la vez para proteger de altas temperaturas en la ciudad. Porque una cosa que a mí me llama la atención es que cuando hacemos decretos de sequía, prohibimos el riego de jardines, como si los jardines fueran un lujo o las zonas verdes fueran un lujo. Es que ya estamos en que las zonas verdes son una necesidad. Entonces se debería proteger tanto a los humanos como a la vegetación, yo creo que a nivel por igual, en mi opinión. Porque el beneficio que nos dan es que si perdemos la parte verde de la ciudad, perdemos mucho como humanos también, en nuestra salud y en todo. Entonces, medidas de ahorro, pues eso, ahorrar en pérdidas, utilizar el agua regenerada, Y medidas de ahorro, como tú estás diciendo, pues en el tema de no hacer uso innecesario en el lavado de ropa o en otros usos. O en los edificios, por ejemplo, utilizar las aguas grises, que no están pensadas ahora mismo la planificación de los edificios, para utilizar las aguas grises pues para llenar cisternas o para hacer otro tipo de usos. Que, por ejemplo, en Málaga, si vais a Málaga, hay un hotel que se llama el Hotel Mariposa, que está en el Soho, que tiene un jardín vertical en su fachada, que le aísla del calor y del frío y además es una fuente de absorción de CO2, no muy grande, pero bueno, algo hace. Y, bueno, y también da un servicio ecosistémico estético y espiritual, porque es muy bonito. Y eso se ha hecho con un proyecto en el que se riega con las aguas grises de 2 habitaciones de ese hotel. Se depuran y riega toda esa fachada vertical. Que hay cosas, todas las cubiertas vegetales, que aquí en España no se ven mucho, las cubiertas verdes en los edificios. Quiero decir, hay muchas medidas también que pueden servir en torno al agua, vamos, me refiero.
In general, she said as a summary that different measures for saving water or for not to consume more water than needed, there are different measures to be taken. First of all, is saving water, not using more than we need. Another one would be regenerating the water we have already used. May have other uses different from drinking, and also considering that green spaces in cities are important, also in buildings. She has mentioned, and it's important because in this Erasmus project, one of the measures to be taken is building up a vertical garden, un jardín vertical que se está construyendo en el instituto dentro de estas medidas, como ha mencionado. As Belén has mentioned, vertical building, one action that we will take in our school will be great to having an atmosphere in cities that keeps heat apart, that creates better conditions of humidity, of temperature, and at the same time, these green spaces can be watered with this reused water, both on the walls, on the rooftops, and it's also important not to leave apart the watering of public gardens because of drought, because they are as important, their feed is as important as ours, and they create these beneficial conditions or environmental conditions in cities. Okay.
Quick questions, please.
Do you believe that installing a nuclear power plant in Andalusia would be helpful to decrease the pollution of the ocean? Que si ayudaría el instalar una planta nuclear en Andalucía a reducir la suciedad y lo malo que se le ha hecho al mar, ya que la energía se puede utilizar para otras cosas como quitar el petróleo de los barcos.
Okay, this is a very complex question. You mean using nuclear power as a solution? Okay, you said to avoid pollution. Well, this is sometimes a misunderstanding. Climate change is also pollution, because pollution is when you put anything on the atmosphere, on the environment that should not be there. So you are putting CO2, methane, these greenhouse gases, so this is pollution. So climate change is a kind of pollution, but not all pollution is climate change. I mean, so nuclear power obviously any source of energy that does not produce greenhouse gases obviously can help. So here the question, the debate is different. Is if you want to use nuclear power or other source of energy. The problem of nuclear power obviously is the risk. If you have an accident, you put a nuclear plant in Malaga province, usually I have to say, to be objective and to take into account all the points of view, it's very safe, nuclear power. The question is that when there are very, very few accidents, but when you have an accident, everybody knows, because the problem is, probably you put, for instance, in Malaga province, a nuclear plant, you will not have a problem. But if you have, we will have to leave Malaga. That's the problem. So it's the debate. The debate is not if it is useful or it is not useful for avoiding, for fighting against climate change. The question is, if we want to take a risk, then now the question is, okay, if you have other alternatives which do not imply any risk, it could be better. I have to say that at present, with solar plants, with wind energy, and other renewables, for instance, that we use the wind also at the sea. In Spain, we are producing around the 50% of the electricity is from renewable sources. At some particular points, when we have a lot of wind, a lot of sunny conditions, we can reach 80% of the electricity. So I think that it's an opinion. This is not a scientific fact. We have to make this difference. I think that we have to go on exploring these options which do not produce greenhouse gases and take no risks. Solar energy, wind energy, water energy from the waterfalls and this. And so we have to try to make, for instance, as she has explained, mobility is very important, to use electric vehicles. If our economy is based on electricity, we can produce it without polluting, without producing climate change. Then we still have some sectors where we cannot use electricity. That is the vessels, as I said before, and the aviation. We have to go on using vessels and using planes. So the alternative at present, the most likely alternative is green hydrogen. As I said, technically, it's feasible now. The problem is it's still very expensive. But I'm sure that in a few years, it will be also a cheap source of energy. So summarizing, yes, using power energy contributes to reduce climate change, but I think that there are better alternatives.
Yo quería decir una cosa en ese tema de la energía nuclear. Es que de vez en cuando surge otra vez el debate de la energía nuclear, que es limpia, que es segura. Estamos viendo en la guerra de Ucrania cómo las centrales nucleares se utilizan como objetivos de guerra. O sea, ya no es un accidente porque por muy bien mantenida que esté la central nuclear, puede ser objetivo de un atentado terrorista o de un atentado en un conflicto bélico. Entonces, eso siempre va a estar ahí. Imaginaros que a Francia ahora de pronto entrará en guerra y le dirá por atacarle a todas sus centrales nucleares. Quiero decir, eso es un riesgo que está ahí y ahora vivimos en un mundo muy inseguro a nivel mundial, ¿no? Yo creo que el tema de la energía nuclear tiene mucho riesgo.
For the international students and teachers, Belén was pointing out the interesting option of the possibility of having accidents of nuclear stations. Therefore, when you consider the option of using them, you would also have to value the risks. And being at war, as the world is right now, having nuclear stations is also an added risk, she was mentioning. I think we have one last question. One last one. Do we have time for one last question? Two last questions. I have one here and one there. And with that, we're closing.
Hi. As you have said, the green spaces are important. So why is the town hall changing all the roundabouts natural grass to artificial?
Thank you. Sí, preguntaba la estudiante sobre nuestra municipalidad y el cambio de las rotondas del césped natural a artificial.
Yo voy a hacer una apreciación. Tenemos un problema bastante importante, como ya he comentado anteriormente en la presentación, sobre la impermeabilización de nuestras ciudades. Quizás las únicas zonas permeables de la ciudad a día de hoy y en muchísimo espacio son las zonas verdes. Si estas zonas verdes, a día de hoy, la solución más rápida para no tener césped es poner césped artificial, pues un poco porque estamos cambiándolo solamente por estética, no por otra cuestión. Y lo que hacemos es que ese pequeño espacio sea impermeable, estamos agudizando el problema. No solamente que deja de ser permeable, sino que además acentúa muchísimo la isla de calor urbano. Por lo tanto, tenemos que pensar muy bien, hay muchísimas soluciones, hay praderas secas que no tenemos ni que regar, hay muchísimo tipo de vegetación muy adaptada a la falta de agua, al no riego, a la poca necesidad hídrica. Y en esto estamos trabajando nosotros muchísimo, en sustitución de césped por praderas secas. Además, no solo que no haya que poner césped, sino que hay que incrementar las zonas permeables de la ciudad. Finalmente, decir que la ciudad, cuando deja de percibir agua en el subsuelo, colapsa, y estamos teniendo muchos problemas en épocas de sequía en las que el suelo, al no recibir nada de agua, todo lo que era físicamente, naturalmente, el suelo recibía agua, está colapsando y muchísimos sitios están teniendo problemas de colapso y de hundimientos en carreteras, en acerados y demás. Bueno, yo quería hacer este aspecto porque trabajamos muchos proyectos de esto y el césped artificial nunca lo recomendamos. Vaya, no existe en nuestra cabeza. Y ahora, desde el punto de vista municipal, pues contestará Belén.
Desde el punto de vista municipal no tengo mucha respuesta porque mi opinión es la misma que el compañero. Hay que buscar soluciones que sean de cero jardinería o jardinería que requiera pocas necesidades hídricas, dejar el suelo permeable porque además el suelo no es suelo en sí, sino que el suelo tiene vida debajo, tiene un subsuelo, que tiene seres vivos que viven en ese suelo, que mantienen el suelo vivo y además que tiene su función en el ciclo de los nutrientes en general, en la naturaleza. Entonces, bueno, pues contribuye a hacer un suelo muerto, porque además se calienta y lo de abajo pues no hay vida ninguna. Y además estás utilizando un material que es derivado del petróleo, que es un sintético, que luego será un residuo cuando deje de hacer su función. Y es un tema puramente estético y una decisión, pues, tendrá otro soporte técnico, pero no el mío, desde luego.
So for the international community, the answer is that using artificial grass is not really the solution. It's an aesthetic solution, but not a natural solution. And there are other proposals from university experts and also municipal experts, such as dry prairies, because the earth is alive and to maintain its level of humidity is very important because there's life beneath it, and also problems such as collapsing of roads and different areas because of the weight. If it's not humid enough, it will collapse and generate more problems. Therefore, we should look to the future to find other more natural possibilities. So we will close with one last question with over here. Thank you.
Hi. Have you ever collaborated with other foreign associations like Lega Ambiente? Thank you.
In our case, not with environmental associations, but with other research institutions. Our institution collaborates in research programs with universities and research institutions all around Europe and even sometimes in the United States. It's the usual way of working in science, to collaborate, to establish networking. It's a word now very popular, and so yes.
So, okay, I think we are coming to the end, and we are coming to the thank yous. So, to conclude, a big thank you especially to the table of experts, to Pedro Guerrero, to Manuel Vargas, Jorge Román, Belén Muñoz, and of course, a very special thank you to all of the Erasmus coordinators to have made this possible, the biology departments of each and of every school who have worked, and science departments, the students for all of their time and patience. And on a positive note, to say that we are very happy to see that we have sparked a global concern in you, and to use, as all of our English students know from our school, one of our favorite words, we wish that awareness arises and implements in society to push forward to find better and more effective solutions to everything. So thank you very, very much. Miguel, Elisa, and Alberto behind the curtain. On the technical side, the institutions, our headmaster Juan, who is here with us, and all of the representatives of institutions and municipality authorities. So a big thank you, and see you next time, hopefully soon. Students may peacefully leave the room and await for us outside. Thank you.